slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever...
Hey team, hope you're all doing well. I want to go over some running mistakes that are holding you back. And I know from my own experience that there's so many things that we can do as athletes that self-sabotage our success in the sport. Trying to compare yourself to other athletes and worrying about who's going to be at the race. These are things that really, in the long run, don't really matter. Okay, I think the most important thing for being a successful middle to long distance runner is having a long-term vision, having a belief in delayed gratification, knowing that your success is going to come down to your daily habits. What are you putting in? What type of mileage are you putting in? How are you setting up your training? Are you following the fundamentals that go into being a successful distance runner, mid-distance runner? Don't worry about so much about who's in the race. It's still, I mean, of course, it's still important to have an idea of who's run what, but at the same time, at the end of the day, when the gun goes off, it's what you've done in training that counts the most. Okay, so I think just from my own experience in this sport and some of the mistakes I was making, of course, was again what I'm mentioning here. I would be at times, this was earlier in my career, back in like the 1990s, 1992 is when I first started running when I was 15. And even to when I was running professionally on the roads, I spent too much time being overly concerned with who was going to be in the race. And at the end of the day, like I mentioned, it doesn't matter. It's what you're doing in training, how you're setting up your training, and how prepared are you mentally and physically to be successful as a endurance athlete. Okay, focusing, like I mentioned earlier, focusing on the fundamentals. Make sure that you're pacing correctly in the race so that you're not going out too fast, too soon in these races. That's a big mistake, running mistake that a lot of runners make. I've made it in the past. You get too hyped up in the early stages of the race and you're trying to run someone else's race. Focus on running your race. Stay as calm and relaxed as you can in the race. That's why I always talk about in training, if you feel your shoulders rising, if you feel like you're being a little bit too tense, if you feel your face tensing up, you can make those adjustments in training to stay a little bit more relaxed so that, again, you run more economically. You run more optimally throughout your race. You're not exerting any physical strain that you don't need to, okay, as well as mental strain, okay? Don't overly stress going into your race, okay? Be confident in what you're doing, but at the same time, if you have too much mental stress on yourself, if you have too much physical stress on yourself, and you haven't tapered sufficiently going into your races, it's going to be very hard to run successfully. Okay, you want to make sure that you've done your homework in training. You've trained sufficiently at paces that are significantly faster than your goal race pace. Okay, maybe you're trying to break 20 minutes for 5K. Maybe you're trying to go under an hour and 30 minutes for the half marathon. Maybe you're trying to run your first marathon. What are you doing in training that's going to set you up for success to ensure that you achieve those particular goals? If you focus less on the things that are outside of your control and focus 100% of your time and energy specifically on the things that are going to make you successful, the less stress mentally you're going to have on yourself, because you're not focusing on all these different areas that really you don't have control over. You don't have control over what the weather's going to be like on race day. If you've trained properly and you've trained in over different terrain and in different weather conditions, it doesn't matter come the race day. Okay, you can utilize the other runners in the race, draft off them if it's windy. Can't really do much if it's raining out, but the common mistakes a lot of runners make, as I mentioned, is just there's a lot of times we get too hyped up, we overanalyze about things that are simply not in our control. and we try to run other people's races at times. We get a little bit too stressed out the morning of the race. Stay relaxed, stay calm. Yeah, I'm speaking from experience too. I mean, after the more time I spent in the sport, the more value I saw in putting all of my confidence in the preparation. And then when it came time to race, I stayed as relaxed as I possibly could. Okay. I still remember at the 2007 California International Marathon, it was me and my other WCAP teammate, Emily Potter. Emily ended up running 2:45 that day and qualifying for the 2008 USA Track and Field Women's Olympic Trials. They were held, I think, in April of 2008, and the 2008 USA Track and Field Men's Olympic Trials were held about 28 days prior to the 2007 California International Marathon. So I earned my Olympic Trials qualifying A standard time 28 days after the men's trial standard, or the men's Olympic trials were held. And so for me, it was like making the Olympics. I mean, it was to achieve that. For Emily, she achieved it a few months prior to the women's Olympic trial standard. But we were enjoying ourselves. We were relaxed. So I can't stress this enough that you have to take comfort in and be confident in what you've done in training, so that come race day, you're going to be relaxed. You're going to be, I mean, you may be a little tense. It's okay to have a little bit of nerves, but at the same time, you've done everything in training. You've thrown everything at yourself. You've done your long runs. You've done tempo runs. You've done hill repetitions, fartlek workouts, speed workouts, easy runs, long runs that were at faster paces. Okay, you've done every possible thing. And so the morning of the race is your celebration of all that hard work. So the mistakes I see that hold a lot of runners back and held me back earlier in my career when I continue to make these mistakes is, again, improper pacing, improper hydration practices in these longer races. If you're running a 10-miler, half marathon, you better start practicing hydration and getting that down. Start putting out water bottles every 3 miles or every 5 kilometers during your long run route, and practice drinking rather than just sipping. Okay, you do not want to sip in these longer races. Hydration and nutrition are absolutely vital if you want to be successful in these longer races. In the short races, the 1500, the 800, the 3000, 5000, you don't necessarily need to drink in those particular races. In some cases, if it's in very hot conditions, track and field, sometimes they have tables set out with water on them and hand out some water. You don't see that often for races that short, especially in the 1500, 800. You never see that. 2 mile, 3000, never. Usually it's maybe at times 5000, 10,000. Okay. But in these longer races, you have to make sure you don't make that mistake. Okay. Running the tangents, run the least amount of distance as you can in these races so that, again, you're not doing any more work than you need to, okay? Improper tapering. If you start dropping your volume and intensity 3 to 4 weeks out, a lot of times runners feel flat, they don't feel motivated, they don't feel energized going in their race. Continue to keep your volume high, keep your intensity high, and then when you're 10 days out from your goal race, I would drop your weekly mileage down to around 60%, okay, once you hit 10 days out. Okay, the last workout I would do if I was training for a half marathon or a marathon is a 3 mile or a 5 kilometer run at goal half race pace or goal marathon race pace, 4 days out from your goal half or your goal marathon. Okay. Again, a big mistake a lot of runners make is they start dropping volume and intensity too far out, and you don't want to do that. You want to maintain what you've been doing, continue to remind your legs of what you're training them to do, and then just a few days out from your goal race, 10 days is sufficient time to fully recover, okay? So make sure you do that. So this topic of running mistakes that are holding you back, those are some of the things that I really think do hold a lot of runners back. Also, not paying attention to mental training and spending a few minutes each day visualizing what you want to do. You have to see it in your mind far before it ever happens. Okay, even when I was a 2:43 marathoner, I saw myself getting under 2 hours and 22 minutes on a daily basis. I visualized it. I back in 2007, that was a 2008 USA Track and Field Olympic Trials B standard time. That was the minimum time you needed to qualify for the Olympic trials. So I wanted to get to that level, but I was still like 20 minutes away from that. But I was doing the work, but I was also putting in that mental rehearsal, visualizing what I wanted. Okay, so please start spending a few minutes each day and keep that into your routine. Train your mind like you train your body. Don't just train your body and not train your mind. Okay, so I hope this video is helpful for all of you. Feel free to leave me a comment below if you have any other questions. If there's a topic that you're interested in, you'd like me to discuss in my next video, I'll do that. Also, check out the resources on RunDreamAchieve.com. I know a lot of you are training for upcoming races. Maybe it's a 5K, 10K, half marathon, maybe an ultra marathon. There's a lot of resources on RunDreamAchieve.com I've created since 2011. I've been blogging on that site since 2011, and I've made this channel here with a lot of free content since 2019. So I hope that what I've created and some of my background experience can help all of you. So thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.